He can shoot the three at a high rate. In the neutral games over last year, he shot 55% from three, so being away from home in a neutral site doesn't faze him. But, I mean, you have Grant, you have Atkins, and Demetrius Jackson now playing with great confidence. Jackson shooting 50% from three. I think when you've got, it's a little bit like we had last year, when you've got a bunch of shooters on the court, you're going to get some open shots. And our job is not to allow those open shots and to make any shot they take a challenge and a struggle for them. And it's harder, but this is what we have a versatile lineup for. This is what we have a guy like Jeremy that can play multiple positions, guard multiple people for, and it'll get really tested tomorrow.
What's gotten away from them when the offense hasn't worked? You said this week, and I know Coach Bray talked about just how he felt like the offense needed to get going again.
Well, I can't speak for him. I think, I mean, the other night they just went against a great post player that just was fantastic. Grant's not going to shoot like that again. I mean, he still got to the foul line a bunch. He's shooting 6.5 free throws a game. They get 21 attempts. They made 16 of them. So I mean, anytime you're getting to the foul line and you're Notre Dame, that's a pretty good bet. They're going to make baskets, just like I hope we are. But I don't know if I could pinpoint something that's getting away from. We're not. I think just what he said in his notes. They're going to try to play like they played at Iowa. I mean, that was a pretty high-powered team that played against Iowa, and it was a very fast game. Now, will they? You know, remains to be seen. I mean, the thing about Mike and his team, he can play a lot of different ways. He can play multiple defenses. He can slow it down and go into his burn offense. He can play really fast. They have excellent transition. I think the other night they just didn't make shots, which to me can be, you can overanalyze it instead of just saying what it really is. They just didn't make shots. They're fully capable of making those shots, and we expect them to come out with great confidence tomorrow.
Which is most important for you guys against a really guard-heavy team? You know, they've got a bunch of guys that can take the ball to them.
Challenging shots. And we got to keep them off the foul line. There's no question about that. But I mean, you've got to really guard your man, and you've got to keep your chest in front. We've got to know we're switching. We've got to know we're not switching. Again, this is in one of those times away from home for a team that hasn't been away from home very much, that they can't get caught up and get distracted anything on the outside. They got to stay totally locked into the communication that they have on the court and to what the game plan is. But there's no question that Notre Dame has the comfortable feeling in knowing how to play away from home and really spacing the court. So we can't relax. We can't be in a situation where we're giving them any confidence early with making shots. And at the same time, we've got to come back at them and make them guard us.
What changes when they, about that lineup, I think they go a little less guard heavy when they go zone. What changes?
Well, they played zone. I saw that comment too. They play zone when Connaughton's at the 4-2. I mean, they mix it up. They're not playing a lot of guys. He played a lot of guys at Iowa. Maybe he will here. I mean, that just remains to be seen. It's not going to change what we do. And I think the best thing for us is no matter what we're seeing, and I think sometimes with a younger team, the more they're not thinking, the better, in the sense of just move the ball. Move the ball, move bodies, get the ball reversed, fly up the court. Don't get caught up, and is it a 2-guard front, is it a 1-guard front, you know, are they trapping? Don't worry about that, and just play. And then if we can figure something out to steal a bucket here or there, great. But the thing for us is we've got to move the ball, keep the game moving, and be able to get some runs to the glass so that we can have a chance to get putbacks and at the same time get to the foul line. But the bottom line is our defense is going to be, we haven't faced a team that's got this many really good range offensive players yet. We face good teams, obviously, like Syracuse and Connecticut and Washington had scores, but this team has got the perimeter scoring. They can get to the rim, and at the same time they've got a forward that's been player of the week, I think, in that league a couple of times, and has had multiple 20-point games, 20-plus games.
How's Doug's ankle situation?
Better. Yeah, better. He'll be available to us.
I know Troy took a little bit of a spill at the end of that last game. Was that an issue at all, or is he fine?
Not by the dunks he had today. If it was bothering before, he's hiding it. So he had a couple of those. We should have a top 10 Indiana practice dunks and keep them. He had at least one of those today, maybe two.
This kind of event, I mean, how important is it? How much do you enjoy it? Do you hope that it sustains itself?
Well, I think it's a really good situation. It takes away home and home from us. I mean, I've said that all along. I mean, and that's just the way that it is. But I mean, it's great for the state of Indiana. It's great for the fans, and they come out. There's times it can feel like a home game when you've got a lot of Indiana fans in there, but at the same time, I can see the other three schools joining forces and going against Indiana. That's the beauty of being at Indiana. I mean, you go in there and you just got to shut it all out and play the best that you can. But I think it's a great venue. Obviously, the city speaks for itself and what it means to basketball. And you've got 4 high-level programs that have enjoyed a lot of success over the years and over the decades.
You got Cody playing up there tonight. You're going to go up.
I'm not going to get to see it. The team will get to see. I may get there late, but I'm going to see my son play here in a little bit, and then I'm going to try to recruit. But I'd like to see him later on. But I know I'll probably see him in Charlotte fairly soon too. If I don't get in there tonight.
Anything else for
The team
Coach?
is going up.
You've seen Grant play, obviously, for a long time. How has he grown as a player, and what makes him so dangerous?
He can score multitude of ways. He can get to the rim. He can get to the foul line, big time, and he makes his foul shots. He continues to develop his three-point shooting. He's got a very good step back. He's very quick first step, and stronger. No question about that. We've got to do a great job of being constantly aware of where he's at.
When they obviously play Atkins and Jackson together, basically, what's that done for them? Just kind of having two kind of.
I don't know if you can say, well, Connaughton could play the same way. I mean, they're a little like in the sense of us. I know Connaughton plays the 4, but you can really look at them and say at times they're playing 3 point guards. I mean, I can't speak for Mike, but I'm sure he could, if he ever ran into a situation, put Connaughton at the point, and he'd be fine. I mean that's what makes them so dangerous. They make a lot of great decisions. They have even the other night. You don't see this very often. They have a 2-to-1 assist turnover ratio basically every time. Even the other night they didn't shoot as well. They still had 16 points and 8 assists. Bottom line, we can't give them easy baskets because they're good enough, no matter who's in the game, to capitalize on it. So I don't know if I would say there's a big change just because of those two. Because Grant can drive the ball so well, he can play pick and roll, and Connaughton can do many things.
Coach, there are only 2 games left in the non-conference schedule after tomorrow. What kind of impact can a win tomorrow against a major conference team have on the psyche of your team, the Big Ten schedule right around the bend?
Well, I just think it's important that we go out and play. The win would be great. It doesn't have anything to do with what the rest of the non-conference is. Games like this prepare you for the Big Ten. There's no doubt about that. But we'd like to think that every experience we're going through is helping us in that way and helping us build a mentality of what it takes for us to be successful, no matter who we're playing or no matter what we're practicing.
Okay, I'm going to get the players now. Thanks, Coach.